Thank you. And once again, Marcy, I so appreciate you coming on board and jumping into the virtual summit with me today. And this is where we get to have such great conversation around vision. But before we do that, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and the work that you're doing out there in the world?
I'd love to. Thank you. So, first off, I am known as the Heart Shift Coach. And that is a proprietary process that I've created, which is actually an accumulation of over 45 years in this field of helping hearts to heal. And it's energetically based. So I teach my clients how to, number one, identify the energy potential, and then how to select energy that has the greatest potential for creating what it is that they want to experience. My whole focus is on teaching people how to love themselves, and I mean love the true self, so that they have access to the greatest potential of any energy in the entire universe to manifest and manifest fast in the speed of light.
Okay, so we're going to unpack that a little bit, Marcy, because there is some good stuff there. And again, everyone who knows me knows that I tend to write things down because when I hear great nuggets or words of wisdom, I like to hold on to them a little bit. So one of the things that you just said was around their energy, the energy that they currently have and potential energy.
Mhm.
So correct me because when you said that, or validate if I'm correct. What came to my mind when you said that was, oh, this is going to be unique to me. So not energy in general, but really you're talking about my specific energy or potential energy that I get to use it as it relates to my life or where I'm going. Did I get that right?
I love so much that you picked up on that. You are so astute. And yes, every single aspect of our life is about us. So we must learn which energies we have access to at any given moment. And if that energy doesn't have the full potential that we need, then we have to make what I call recalibrations, right? We are recalibrating our own energy that gives us a different access. So it's powerful.
It is, and it's so funny because, well, it's not funny, it's exciting because I use calibration all the time in the work that I do and
Love it.
recalibrating. I don't come across very many people who actually do. So I'm like, yes, So before I bring us there, I want to take us back to
Yeah.
this idea of energy. And the
Mhm.
reason I want to do that is because for so many people still, it comes off, and I'm going to do air quotes, as woo woo.
Sure.
So can you just talk to us a little bit, like when you say energy, and talk to me, the skeptic.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah, for
really, but
sure.
talk to me as a skeptic about, what is this idea around energy and why is it so important to myself, my vision? Can you help me to understand
Mm,
that?
I love so much that you asked that question. So let me just reiterate that when my career, and by the way, I'm talking professional career, as an energy reader began 45 years ago. It was at a time I had also just graduated from nursing school. I got my RN. And at the same time, I was ordained in a spiritualist church. So I was ordained as a spiritualist minister, trained in hands on healing, mediumship, and channeling. So, right from the very beginning, it was clear to me that the path that I was here to explore and expand through was one as a liaison between those two worlds: conventional medicine, conventional healing, and the metaphysics of life that I've come to know is really the true extension of who we are. So this answer to that question has changed, of course, throughout all of those years. But as my understanding expands, here's where I am today. That is that what was true for us 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, what we understood about ourselves has been blown out of the park, right? We have had, with I think the advent, particularly of technology that gives us access to so much information, we're recognizing that science is finally catching up with many of us, with what many of us have known for so many years. And that is everything is energy. So if everything is energy, we have to just come to this place of accepting that we are energy, and that medical science and science of all kinds is really working so hard to speed up its own conscious awareness so that it can give us tools that are workable in an everyday space. The truth is, though, we already know this, right? We have these circuits, we have these systems already in place within us. It's how we were created because we are energy beings. So, what medicine did, for instance, is it created machines that measure the energy of the body. It created an EKG to measure the energy that goes through the heart. It created an EEG to measure the energy that goes through the brain. It created all kinds of mechanics to try to utilize what we already knew. Energy can be harnessed. Well, if a machine can do it, and that machine has been replicated with our abilities, then it stands, of course, to be true that we can harness energy as well, because energy is actually our first language. When we are babies, before we understand any other language, we understand the energy of love. We know the feeling when we are being loved, embraced. We know the energy of being alone. We know the energy of being fearful. We know the energy of being hungry. We know the energy. In other words, we recognize energy before anyone ever puts anything to word. So when we come back to this space of saying, oh, well, if energy is my first language, I better do everything that I can to remind myself how to speak that language, how to communicate that language, so that I can start to live the way I'm meant to live. Right. And so we start to notice things like we go into a party and we meet someone for the first time, and the hair on the back of our neck stands up, and we go, "Whoa, okay, very nice meeting you." And we move on. Conversely, we meet someone who we feel like we have known our whole lives, right? And we can't get enough of them. It's the energy that's communicating. It's saying you are aligned. You and I share a vibrational frequency. And as such, I know that when I communicate with you, you're going to receive what I have to say, and you're going to get me. You're going to hear me. You're going to know me. And don't we all have relationships like that where it's like, yes, I can be me. We can talk and talk and talk. But yet there are lots of times that we don't need to talk. We can just be thinking about each other. And all of a sudden the phone rings and we pick it up and that person is there, right? We are constantly communicating energy. And so my work is in helping people to come back to their true nature, where energy rules, and understand that everything that we are experiencing is a direct extension of the energy that's being projected outside of us. There's nothing woo woo about that. So, fortunately, as I said, we have some science to back us up, But those of us who are starting to pay attention and accept that what was great and wonderful when we were children in terms of understanding certain things, we now have both at our access and the ability to take so much more in and learn how to use
Okay. So this
it.
is me interpreting this. And here's what I wrote down. Energy as a language. That's literally what I wrote down, because everything that you just shared, the examples that you just gave, are all everyday examples that you and I, those around us, have all experienced. And yet, what you're saying is, I'm just reframing it through this lens called energy, and here is the language that goes with it. So it's like
Right.
you said, there's nothing woo woo. We've all experienced it, we all understand it. It's just a framework that we may not be used to, um, because it, still, it's not something that is mainstream yet. It is getting there, certainly. It is getting there. But for many of us, the idea of energy as a language, it is not prevalent in our day to day world.
And yet, we actually have human language that's been based on what we've picked up energetically. How many times do we say, I just don't really like that vibe? Or, you know, um, it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't really understand it, but I'm going to stay home tonight. Or we are constantly acting with these energetic messages. But because, and this is what's so important, because we are constantly engaged in this conversation, we sometimes don't hear it, or we don't understand, or we don't pay attention to it. It's kind of like, how as mothers, yeah, our kids sometimes just go deaf to us, right? Because they're tick, 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 tick. Well, the truth of the matter is, we're constantly getting these messages that come from this higher place within us that is in communication with all things around us. And it's the communication with things that we can't see, things that we don't hear. And it's, like a dog, right? They hear things that we don't hear. Many animals have the ability to see things that we don't see. It's not that they're not there, but they're attuned to it. So I know a lot of times, and I'm bringing this up because I know a lot of times clients will say to me, I don't get those messages. Of course you do. It's just that you've become accustomed to listening to the other voices around you, or the bombardment of information. And you've just got to come back into tune with being able to hear and feel and see those things that are all around you and are there to support you and guide you. So it's quite amazing when we make that turn.
It is, because I just got it. Like, I got it, Marcy. I got it. So,
Yes.
okay. So before you celebrate, let me tell you what I got to see
Yeah.
to see if I'm on the right track. So again, the word that came up for me is intuition. Like, that's something that when I talk to folks about, in terms of intuition, and you hit it right on the head when you said, hey, it's not that we don't have that thought, that energy, right? So we can reframe that as that energy. It's just that for whatever reasons we've stopped listening to it, right? It could be that we were taught, hey, to disregard, or maybe we grew up and we were invalidated, and so we
Correct.
let it go. We don't trust it, or we second guess it. Or,
Hmm.
like you said, we get bombarded with so much information. Sometimes it's hard to hear through the noise, which is great, because Kelly and Bob just talked about how, talked us through how do we get through the noise so that we can lean in and listen around the energy. So I think I got it.
Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And also to understand that everything that we experience is simply the manifestation of energy in that moment. And that really teaches us a lot. It tells,
So,
go ahead.
yes, lean okay, so let's lean into this because one of the other things that I wrote down is energy as an exchange,
Mhm.
right? We're always exchanging energy, whether it's energy with our own thoughts,
Yep.
right? Energy within our own body, energy with others. And so, one, it takes me back to the recalibration statement, but to stay where we are right now, elaborate on what you were saying in terms of, um, being in the energy. Take us a little bit further.
Sure. So at any given moment, actually any nanosecond, we have choice. We have the free will to align with any energy that we choose to. And we are constantly, as we just said, we are being bombarded by energy on a regular basis, 24/7. However, by the consistency of choice, we actually calibrate energetically to a certain vibrational frequency. So that's why, for instance, I use the example of meeting someone at a party, the back, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. When we have aligned to a certain vibrational frequency and we have really committed ourselves to feeding that vibrational frequency with the other things that we do, then what happens is it becomes the predominant frequency of our field. When you have been attuned to that consciousness, you now can trust that anything coming into that field will be of a similar vibrational frequency. This is where we have the ability to become masterful. Now, when something comes in that's obviously out of vibrational frequency, we have a choice. We can either allow it to pivot our gaze and we become, totally mesmerized by that, which happens often, right? And then we get to experience the potential of that energy frequency and what it creates in terms of our experience. Or if that's not really what we want to experience, if we have an awareness that we have the ability to bring ourselves back to a different vibrational frequency, we can traverse energy frequencies and experience life from a way that we're allowing it to flow through us rather than being reactive to everything and getting off course. And the reason I'm saying this, and I'm going to use myself as an example, this happened to me yesterday. I was on a train and I was actually trying so hard to get some work done. And there was a woman in the front of the train who was yelling and screaming through her phone and belligerent. And she was as nasty as could be. And I could just feel my whole vibrational frequency, like, you know. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to work under these circumstances. So I put my earbuds in and I started to watch a movie to distract me, to bring my focused energy in. Didn't work. She got louder and louder and louder. And all of a sudden, the thought comes to me, you have a choice. So you can either pick up all your stuff and move to another car. You can go get the conductor and say, we need some intervention. Or you can do the easiest thing, and that is to remember that energetically, you have the ability to speak to her. And that's what I did. Closed my eyes. And I said, first off, I put my hands on my heart and I was compassionate to myself because I forgot. I forgot that I didn't have to get angry. I didn't have to get like irritated. I didn't have to get aggressive. I could actually love her, and I could bring her into my heart. I don't have any idea what's going to happen if I do that, but I do know that it's going to make me feel better, that I've done something that I know is going to have a positive effect energetically everywhere. And so that's what I did. And the most miraculous thing happened, because she's screaming, she's yelling, and then all of a sudden I hear her getting quiet. And then I hear her say, "Oh my God, this is my stop. I've got to get off the train." Well, I started to laugh. So, did I create that? No. But what I created was a shift in the energy that maybe allowed her to realize that was her stop. Because if she had been so distracted with her screaming and yelling, she might have missed it, and I would have had to listen to that for another hour. So that's what I mean.
I love it. And you gave her the opportunity to shift. And if she had been stuck there, I'm sure it would have continued to add
Hmm.
to the energy,
Yeah.
because now there was a negative impact, that just compounds.
Yeah.
So, and we can talk about that in a second, but I want to just go back to my bunny trail here in terms of writing down all of your words of wisdom, because one of the things that came to me is alignment, and I love
Yes.
this idea of alignment, which again is where calibration or recalibration comes back in. And what I really appreciated about what you said, Marcy, was the statement that being in alignment allows us to be in choice.
That's right.
So we get to choose, and we're in 100% choice 100% of the time. So I say that all the time. Many of us are choosing unconsciously, and what I'm hearing you say and the work that you do is you support people in helping themselves to choose consciously
Yes.
through the language of energy, and where that shows up for them and where they want to be. And so what I wrote down from there was around this, again, this idea of discernment,
Mm.
that when we practice, because we're hearing this a lot, the practice of understanding who we are energetically, and we start aligning to who we want to be, or our vision, then what happens is, you're saying, we start vibrating on this certain frequency, because we're in alignment. And when things come our way, because it's not a matter of if, it will always be when. So when things come our way, we're able to discern what fits and what doesn't.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I love the word discernment. I use it all the time, because first off, I want our audience to realize that discernment is not judgment. And here, let's talk about the difference. Okay. So, judgment is when you are seeing something outside of yourself. You are pointing a finger at it, seeing it separate from you. You are judging it, and you are judging it as unacceptable. Discernment is when we bring it in and we say, is this for me? Is it for the highest good for me? So discernment is all about, what do I want to engage in? Okay. So discernment is quite powerful. But what came to my mind's eye as you were speaking, Deidre, is this. I want our audience to get this visual. So imagine a surgeon, okay, who uses laser, who is unable to discern which calibration to put that laser machine on. Because if that surgeon calibrates it in one way, it will cut. If it calibrates it in another way, it will heal, it will bring it together. It's the same laser beam of light. It's just waiting for your command. You are the surgeon. You are the machine that calibrates its own energy and discerns, is this for my highest good? If the answer is calibrate to cut, you cut. If the answer is calibrate to join, you join. You are the surgeon. The machine is you.
Wow. So I just have major goosebumps. And for me, when that occurs, that is a mind sign that I'm hearing a level of truth for
Yes,
me. And so that's one of the things energetically that I've gotten to learn about myself that has helped me to discern what what I'm aligned with and what I'm not. So
that's
it's
right.
taken me a while to get here. So I really appreciate you giving us that analogy, that visual, because, and this is where I wanted to really tie it back into our vision, which we've been talking about at a very deep level. And I'm going to bring it back up to the surface because for some of the people who may not be in this work, I want to just make a really clear connection. So when you were talking about judgment versus discernment, and when we're talking about being in alignment or recalibrating, so that we are in alignment with our true energy, who we get to be, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about our vision. That when we're talking about having a vision that is true for us, and again, who we get to be, who we want to be, and what we want to create. How do we, I call it show up? How do we show up or want to show up in the world? And so when we're talking about having a vision that is so compelling, it means we are grounded in it, we are aligned with it, the energy is there. And when we declare it, because it's one thing to have a vision, it's something else to declare it, then we are sending that energy out there to like-minded people to join us in the journey and help us lift and carry it forward. So again, I wanted to bring it back up to the surface because for some people are like, okay, wait, how does this connect with our vision? And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to make a connection through your deep wisdom because I know mine is kind of mine is still growing. So can you help us, make that connection? I mean, am I on the right track or
Absolutely. And I just need to make one comment first. That reaction that you were having in your energy field that you said was like goosebumps. I call those God bumps.
Mhm.
They actually start to occur inside and move out rather than being a reaction to the temperature. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's in response to an internal recognition. That's powerful.
Got it. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
internal recognition and vision and frequency. When we start to align with our truth, as you have so beautifully and articulated so perfectly, Deidre, is that we feel when we are out of alignment. We say, "Oh, I must have gotten out on the wrong side of the bed," or we say, "Oh, we feel out of sorts today." We're out of alignment with the vibrational frequency that we have set for ourselves. In terms of vision, I want to come back again to the concept of energy potential. Okay. If we have a vision that is a limited vision, we will get a limited response because the energy does not have the potential to become expansive. What often happens, and I find this all the time with my clients, is they have this, what they consider to be their goal. It's what they want to create.
You were in the middle of this beautiful thought
Mm,
about energy and its relationship to having a vision and one that might be too specific and
mhm,
therefore limiting and how we want it to be expansive.
mhm. And I want to say that a lot of times it's actually self-sabotaging because
Mm.
the limitation is the limitation that we put on the energy, the limitation we put on ourselves, and of course, the limitation that we put on the results. And so rather than being so specific, we want to talk about what do you want to experience? The
Mm.
universe speaks in experience. All right. Everything that you are projecting out in terms of energy returns to you in the form of an experience. So if you are not experiencing your goal, very often what happens is you say, ugh, that's never going to work. That's, none of this stuff works. This is ridiculous. I can't do it. There's something wrong with me. Oh, or how about this one? I mean, this makes my skin crawl. God doesn't want me to have that.
Mm.
Or that must not be what I'm here for. No, this is science, science that you can depend on to work for you. Universal law, which is the law of energy, works constantly 100% of the time. That's why you can trust it to work for you. But if you are, again, being too specific in what you want and not able in that moment to feed only that high caliber of energy necessary to bring it to life, you will fall short and you will misinterpret everything. So instead, start to give yourself permission to experience life. What would you like to experience? I was so looking forward to coming together with you today, Deidre, to have this wonderful conversation about energy and vision. I had no idea how it was going to unfold. I had no idea how the questions would come to me or what you would want from me. We haven't discussed any of this. All I knew is that I wanted to experience an open field where I can share what I have come to know as truth with over 45 years of experience working in energy.
Mm. And what a powerful way for us to wrap up our time together because we can stay, I can continue to talk to you for hours, and I'm sure offline we will have an opportunity to do that because
Yes,
the work is so exciting and so powerful.
yes.
And for many of us, we get to lean into it. And when I say that, I mean we get to learn about it and, like you said, learn how to use it
Mhm.
to help us move forward to who we want to be.
That's
And
right.
so before we leave, Marcy, and again, the wonderful Valerie dropped in your URL into the chat. uh, um, what is some things that if people wanted to reach out to you that you have to offer? Because I want people to know how they can play with you or work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is heartshiftcoach.com. I also have another website, selfloveuniversity.com. My whole focus is in teaching people how to love themselves, and that's really energy clearing. So I have lots of digital programs there. But on my website, I also have a free gift, and it's a free ebook, and it's called um, "Turning Self Sabotage to Self Love in 5 Days." And what I do in that ebook is I help you to identify energy, number one, to start to recognize its potential, and then to start to experience what it's like to truly love yourself, and then to make choices based on what that would ask of you. Phenomenal. Please enjoy it, share it with your friends. Just let's all get on, this bandwagon of really learning to love ourselves so that we can love the life that we have to live.
Wow, love it, Marcy, and really appreciate the resources because I've been on your website and there are tons. So I love the generosity of you give sharing your wisdom with other people. And folks, if you have a chance, go up on the website, get in touch with Marcy. She's doing
Please.
really fantastic work. I know I am. So I'll definitely be reaching out to her. And here's what I'm going to say. Marcy, as you leave us again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. You really given us a great understanding of some of the deeper aspects of having a vision and who we get to be energetically and to allow that vision to come forth and manifest, as you say, right? To create and think of it, a lot of us think of it as outcome. And manifestation is such a beautiful word because it really speaks into the idea of us birthing something
That's right.
into being, which is fantastic. So thank you so much for
Mm.
joining us. I appreciate it.
It's really just been my honor, and I hope everyone can feel my joy. This is my joy, being able to speak with you and share from my heart and to invite you in. So
And
thank you so much.
you're welcome. We accept the invitation.
Thank you.